Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Eddie with Low Code Systems, and in today's video I want to share with you a really cool AI powered flow that's going to generate a fully SEO optimized blog along with a thumbnail to go with it. So whether you're a solo founder, a small team, or even a large marketing team, definitely watch how some of these tools work together to help you speed up the writing process and put out more content out there that's going to generate more traffic to your website. So here's the flow. You can see the outline of it. I'm going to go ahead and run it, and we're going to go over the output just to view what kind of content it creates. And then from there, I'm going to go through each step, go through each AI agent. I'm going to show you how they work together, how to build them if you're not super familiar with n8n and the AI agents. Let's get started. So I'm going to execute the workflow. As you can see here, it triggers on a schedule. And then it's going to go ahead and pull some information, some topics that I've already written about from a spreadsheet. It's going to feed those into Perplexity to do research on a topic to write about. And then it's going to feed that topic and some of that context into a keyword researcher. So this agent is going to basically call an API. I am using DataForSEO, which is an API service that takes in some keywords and it returns you a list of statistics along with other keywords that might be better for SEO. And then we're going to take those SEO keywords and we're going to feed it into a blog writing agent. So this agent is going to write our blog. It's going to take a prompt with all the instructions, write the blog, and then return the title and the full content of the blog for us. Finally, we're going to take that content, feed it into a designer agent, and that's going to generate a design spec for the thumbnail. Then we simply feed that spec into ChatGPT, and that'll generate the image for us. And finally, we're going to package all that together and email it to yourself or whoever you want. And you have a blog that's SEO optimized and probably 90% of the way there. You probably still need to do some tweaks, but it'll save you a lot of time, a lot of cost, and it's going to be fully ready to be posted. So we'll wait for this to finish, and then I'm going to go over each step. Awesome. So the workflow finished executing. Now we're going to head over to my inbox to view the blog that it created. So I'm going to refresh this. And here's the blog. So the topic it chose was unlocking AI-driven workflow automation with low-code platforms for scalable business efficiency. So this sounds a little generic with this word, but obviously it needs some tweaking. You can pause the video and read this if you'd like, but I'm just gonna quickly glance at it. It's talking about, it links some reputable sources. It's gonna put some steps on how to do this, and then it names some platforms. And then finally, it links a CTA for my business. And then here's a thumbnail. Beautiful thumbnail in my opinion. This is really clean. I really like the desk. All the elements are very clear and defined. And it kind of depicts that AI workflow automation concept. So I like this. I'm probably just gonna review this and post it on my website today. But let's go into more detail as to how these components work. I already explained high level, but again, it's gonna trigger on a schedule. So this is gonna run every day at 8 a.m. my time. And then I have some fields here, right? So this is the context. So I tell it my business name, my business website, some of the categories that I wanted to look for a topic in, as well as some tools that I think are relevant or I would like it to include in that topic. So I define those, and then it goes and fetches all the topics that I've written blogs for. So as you can see, it returns some of these topics that I've already written about. So when it picks a topic, it doesn't duplicate the content. And then we're gonna aggregate that into a list. So those rows of topics, and then we're gonna feed those into Perplexity. One very important thing about these types of flows is that your output is only gonna be as good as your prompt. So make sure that when you're creating these flows, you definitely spend a good amount of time experimenting with different prompts, tweaking it, and make sure that the instructions are very clear. Otherwise, it'll just assume what to do and the output might not be what you wanted. As you can see here, I've broken down the prompt. I give it the task, go do the research. I give it the date just so it doesn't go fetch stale or outdated content or topics. I give it the categories that I wanted to look a topic for. And then I tell it the goal. The goal is to create a blog post, but right now I just need you to get me an idea. I name some of the tools, and then I put the requirements. I want this blog to be geared to a certain audience. I want it to have SEO potential, lead generation value, and I also list the topics that I've already done. And then finally, this is very important, make sure that you define the output. If you don't define the output, it's harder to kind of pick off each of these fields down the flow, because it'll just assign a random variable, or it'll be just like one output, or it might return like a bunch of text and then the information that you need. So in order to make it easier, you define a schema and it'll return exactly that. That way, in a different node, you can just reference the topic title or the primary keyword directly. That's the first step. And then we're gonna hand that off into a SEO keyword researcher. This SEO keyword researcher is gonna take the output from Perplexity to the topic, and I'm telling it, hey, here's a topic, here are the keywords, the primary and secondary keywords that I think I should use. But go ahead and call this DataForSEO endpoint and check what is the competition, what is the monthly search volume for these keywords. And if you find a better one that makes sense for this topic, then go ahead and use that instead. And then again, I tell it I expect the keywords to be in the specific format so that it's easier for me to use them in the following nodes. So there's the prompt. And if you're wondering how the AI agent works, it's essentially 4 different components: the model, so the LLM model, the memory, if you have like a database or a vector database, the tool, these are things like API endpoints or MCPs, and you finally have the structure output. So for our use case, we only have the model, the API endpoint for DataForSEO that gives us the statistics on the keywords, and it recommends more keywords that might be better. And then we have the structured output. So the structure output, again, is very important. It tells the agent how you want the data to be returned. That way, in the following nodes, you don't try to access something that's not there, which can cause errors in the execution of the flow. So as you can see, here's the schema that I defined. I want 1 primary keyword and 3 secondary keywords. So now that we have our keywords, so as you can see, it recommended AI workflow, automation tools, custom AI automation consulting, and AI agents for business automations. From a glance, they look good. You can see the competition is low, the search volume is there. Probably these 2 could be improved, but again, this is a great starting point. So we're gonna grab those keywords and we're gonna feed them into a blog writing agent. So this one's even simpler. Here we just have the LLM, which is gonna be OpenAI model, and then we have the structure output. So we tell it, I expect to get a title, a slug, which is the URL for the blog, and then the actual blog content formatted as HTML. And we can take a look at the prompt here. So here's the prompt that I use. I say you're a professional blog writer. Make sure you write an engaging SEO optimized blog post. Here are some rules on each section and how long it should be, some guidelines. And then I feed it in my business name, my business website. I tell it what not to do, so avoid using like generic and very clickbaity words. And then here we have the SEO instructions. So I tell it, try to use the primary keyword this many times, secondary keyword this many times. And then I give it all the input, which is all the context, right? So the topic, the keywords, additional topic context from that Perplexity node earlier in the flow. Finally, I again reiterate, hey, I expect the output to be in this specific format. And as you can see, here is the output. It generates the title, the slug, and then the HTML formatted content for the blog. And then we take the content and we feed it into the next agent, which is going to be our thumbnail designer. So this thumbnail designer, essentially, here's a prompt and I tell it, hey, I want a specific, basically try to replicate what I do when I go into ChatGPT and write a prompt for an image. I tell it, hey, define the colors, the background, any elements in the image, and create the prompt for me, given this blog. So come up with a picture that fits this blog. And here's the final prompt, as you can see. Great. So the thumbnail designer will generate that prompt, and then we're gonna finally feed it into ChatGPT. We feed the prompt here. So a professional modern business workspace featuring a sleek minimalist desk with a large transparent touchscreen. And as you can see, it defines the colors for the background text and then some design guidelines. So obviously you can improve this prompt if you wanted to by telling it to create a more detailed prompt. But from my experience, I found this works well for me. So that's the prompt I'm using. And this is gonna generate the image for us. And then finally, the last step is this clean up and send blog. We're gonna grab the blog content, the title, the image, and we're gonna format it in an email. As you can see here, we have the title, the slug, the content, and the body of the email. and then we attach the image that it generated as an attachment. And as you can see, got delivered to my inbox. And then the last thing I do is I grab the topic and I append it to the table. So my blog topic, just so on the next run, it doesn't duplicate the content. There you have it. I hope this video is helpful for you. If you have any questions on how to build a similar flow, please reach out to me at lowcodesystems.com. And if you're interested or want to see like a step-by-step guide on how to build this, leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll make sure to release a step-by-step guide on how to build a similar flow with more generic prompts so it's more applicable to any industry, any category. I hope you like this video, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one.